Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm Sean Austin, CEO and co-founder of Markets EQ, also a proud RPI alum, so I got to pull this one out, Jason. It's great to see a lot of familiar faces here, um, new faces too that I haven't seen because I've been around for a while in the capital region. So as a RPI alum, I definitely have to tell a quick story which ties directly into this. So as a senior, we had to do a capstone, probably not too different than a lot of people as you go through your undergraduate. Communicating in front of people becomes more important and more critical. That class, which maybe you'll find this hard to believe, I wasn't really um, ready to communicate, right? I didn't feel that comfortable doing it in front of a really small class at the time, and that was, for me, an important moment that stuck with me. My hands were clammy, right? Like I'm stuttering a little bit when I'm talking, and it was a tiny little class, so it's kind of funny, full circle. With Markets EQ, we're thinking, and we know that with generative AI, which is a huge trend, we can make that better for college students, for even public company CEOs that have investor relations teams. Your communication and your clarity matter more than ever in a world where everything you say online is being dissected, even if it's written or if it's verbal or if it's video. So we founded this company last year in August to attack this problem. We talk more than ever on digital devices, right? Zoom is everywhere. Everything you do is basically part of a machine, right? You're on your phone, that's digital. You're on a Zoom, that's digital. If you're writing something on X or anywhere else, right, that's all digital. Your communications have an impact when you say something that's meaningful, when you think about the audience, which can be different, of course, for every situation. We know that you can truly make a difference by being better and almost having an AI coach in your pocket. You may be surprised to see this number, but the cost of ineffective communication is incredible in the United States. So every time anyone's talking to one another, think about the idea of misalignment, or if you don't understand what someone's saying, that can have ramifications that will trickle down. We use the example and we focus on earnings calls for public company CEOs. And when they say something that's off, you could have billions of dollars wiped off in market cap. Generative AI, which you may have heard of, is essentially what ChatGPT is powered by, allows us to take language, allows us to take tone, and ultimately provide more confidence to these communicators. So what you're seeing here is a snapshot of our product, which was launched early this year. We raised, as mentioned, capital at the end of last year. And this fuses together a language analysis, it fuses together tonal analysis, and allows you to understand things like how complex your language was. It lets you understand where your emotions, up to 58 of them, are present. And what we do is we bring it together in a very easy way that everybody can access it. That applies to a lot of different domains. Corporate communications, I mentioned, but what about sales training? What about the investors that invest in those companies, right? What about people pitching in front of an audience as an early stage company? There are situations across the board, back to my college example, where if you can communicate better, if you can communicate more confidently, that's going to help elevate what you can do. So we've been lucky enough to get some pre-sales at the end of last year before we launched, actually. We raised some capital. We've had hundreds of interviews. For anybody who has been in an early stage company or thinking about it, that's critical, valuable insights from talking to a lot of early potential adopters. And then in February 6th, we launched the product. So this is for us a monumental moment, and it has been, but this was only 2 months ago, which is kind of crazy to think about. So we are now looking at how to get this across organizations from small to large. I mentioned Fortune 50s are potential customers, small businesses, and even the college example, again, are people we believe could benefit from Markets EQ. So I had mentioned there's language analysis, emotion analysis, and the ability to communicate with your coach. That's one of the powerful pieces of generative AI. It specializes in language. It specializes in essentially these billions of parameters around all the training data. What we want to do is harness that, imbue it with your emotional understanding, and give that to individuals in an easy to access way. So you log in, you can type in if you want a question once you upload your communications, and what you get is an output that looks a little bit like that. That's a little cut off. But you can get it instantly within 30 seconds. You upload this, and now text, video, or audio is available to the AI. You've got some great feedback. Again, that's one of the core parts I've learned as an entrepreneur for a while, is the feedback is critical, and you want to incorporate that and let them validate it. My co-founder, Dan, who's had quite some experience in this space, loves to say customers validate while we're trying to innovate. I think it holds true all the time, right? So these are two snapshots from a beta client that can't be named, as well as a actual client on the PR side. Those are powerful statements, we believe, right, with clients that can see value that for us help elevating and driving what we're doing every single day. I probably don't need to hammer statistics to anybody, but the communications world is exploding for voice. Zooms again, Google Meets, right? Microsoft Teams. All of this is now part of our daily life. It's something that we know will be with us. I don't think that's going to change. Telephones are another part of it. But this voice and digital communication explosion is all around us. We think if you can integrate this into what you do, we also aren't the only ones thinking about it. We've seen Microsoft Teams and Gongs of the world do this. But using these software tools to make your communications better, we believe, and we're pretty certain, right, can elevate everybody's game. It's an amazing team that's partly local, right? So I think, again, seeing this turn out, it's fantastic. So we have local individuals involved from software engineering to the sales front. We have some outside of the region, of course, but this digital team that can support what we're doing is fantastic. And again, the fact that we're seeing more people locally is amazing, honestly, amazing. So this team has powered some very incredible launches, tackling this market. So we're talking about, for us, hundreds of billions of dollars are spent on productivity and collaboration tools. How can you make your Microsoft Teams communication better? How can you record your pre-sales call? How can you make that CEO a little more aware of potentially evasive language they've used? All of that ties into, for us, a massive opportunity. Our revenue is comprised of two pieces, so I'll try not to bore anyone on too many numbers, but it's important to think about, and especially if you're starting a company, I believe, that the world is moving a little bit more towards consumption. So we think about it, for every time you're using software, we can actually monetize it that way. So instead of charging you a whole bunch up front, making this an experience that's going to be heavy for somebody, can we actually make it a little easier, a little less friction, a little more palatable? And that's what you're seeing right here. So it's a combination for us of revenue that can turn into a subscription long term, but if you actually want to just use this on demand, that for us is very important. Something that I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say is, given that this is local, given the fact that we believe anyone can use this, we're looking at giving anyone in this room who contacts me or Dan, Dan's my co-founder over there in the nice suit, $500 in free credits for Markets VQ. So it's an easy way for you to access it. You literally can just log in. You can upload anything you want. It's a secure environment, and understand what we're talking about and experience the product itself. So that, for us, is where we are, right? We believe that raising more capital this year is critical. We want to get this out in the hands of people. I personally love to see the local entrepreneurial circuit and everybody involved growing. So we're always available, and yeah, like I said, we'll give free credits out to anybody who's interested. Thank you. Any questions? There you go.
I thought it was really cool. Thank you. I was just one part I didn't understand. Is it real time or is it after the fact? Like, if I'm on an earnings call, I'm the CEO saying stupid stuff. Is it gonna?
Hopefully not.
Is it gonna ding me? In real time, or is it more like analyze it backwards and kind of help me in the future?
Yeah, great fact. So it's either for the teams prior to the call can actually upload information and get sort of training prior, or we already take everything that happens, we ingest it, process it, and then you can look at it after the fact. So real time, I think, is the next step, but right now it's pre-post.
It's very cool. Thank you.
Very cool. Good question.
We have time for another question. Nothing? Somebody's got to have a question. There. You go ahead. Project.
Awesome presentation. Congrats on the traction too. So cool to see
Thank you.
beta to customers. I love that. I'm curious, are you building AI, right? Like foundational, horizontal AI that could be extended to other use cases? Or are you taking maybe foundational models and building on top of them for this kind of vertical use case of financial services? And maybe walk me through the rationale of how you invest in those two.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have focused heavily on the integration part of this. So we're not training foundational models uniquely. We're not trying to build them from scratch, essentially. But by looking at the content itself, which is an earnings call, we know that gives us some scale. What's the audience that cares about it? So that gives us a little bit of a universe around it versus, I think, too narrow. The other piece too, which is how we can offer free credits, for instance, is the same technologies can actually apply to other comms. So we can have like a generalization while we add content specific, call it like prompt or fine tunings. But I just got this question from somebody actually. We're trying to focus on not going too deep on some of this technology, because then it's almost like if it's going so fast, we're like unwinding it. So we're trying to constantly think of a little bit of flex more towards the generalization as we go forward. Yeah, good question. Thanks.